PerkyPlanes and RC here, operating at 2.4 gigahertz and getting back to the Uproar build. So, now kind of where we left off is I had just glued the top sheeting on the fuselage. This is actually the bottom right here, but I glued the top sheeting on, and basically I glued the sheet on by itself without pre-cutting it. And like I said, part of my reasoning for that was just so I didn't have any room for error, because I can totally see myself pre-cutting it and then messing it up. So I decided to go ahead and lay the whole sheet across there. And then, of course, since then, as you can kind of see here, I went ahead and trimmed all that excess off. So got that in place. Something you probably will notice too is there are now pushrod tubes right here. Right here, going through the end of the fuselage there for the push rods. So I got those glued in place. Now I'm working on a, they call this the rear hatch. So I've glued a quarter inch section right here. This is kind of left over from my from the spar. So I've got that in place. And now I have just started the side of, this is like a, this is the hatch rails that I'm gluing in here. So I'm now doing the side rails at this point, and I'm going to get those glued in place. So just bringing you up to speed on where we are. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get the other side glued in. Normally I like to clamp down stuff that's epoxied, but for some of this, for things like this, especially this CA, it does take a little bit to sort of set, not too long, just a little bit. And I prefer to go ahead and just clamp it there so it doesn't move, because I don't trust myself trying to hold it and then, you know, with my, if I have shaky hands and it moving it, and well, that wouldn't be good. So I did go ahead and clamp it once I get it, once I put the glue on. So anyways, here is the other rail that's going to basically fit over on this other side over here. So let me get some glue on this, and then we'll glue it in place. Now these side rails are not actually taken from the same wood of the main spar. This is actually base wood instead of balsa. I'm sorry if my hand is in the way there, probably. Or my whole arm. Okay. Give that a moment to set. All right, we'll let them do that, let this thing there. Hopefully everybody out there is doing well. It is starting to get a little cooler out here where I'm at. I think the summer is officially winding down. We were getting highs up in the like 90s, and even heat index was in the hundreds, and even the mornings were just absolutely terrible. Horrible heat. I mean, just muggy, and just even in the mornings it was bad. And now I walk out and it's cooler. I didn't check the temperature this morning, but definitely a little on the cooler side. In fact, I've had to turn my air conditioner off in my building because it was a little chilly in here. So all right, well, I'm going to let that set for a second. I'm going to go ahead and get this last piece cut for the end of the rear hatch there, and we'll get it glued in place. So hang on just a moment. All right, guys. Interesting little interesting little thing that had just occurred here, and I want to also go ahead and provide you guys with a little update too. First of all, I did go ahead and get this last piece of the rail put in place. So we got that there. I was just about to start on this landing gear plate, and I came across I came across something that I had never really experienced before, and it'd be a good lesson. So here we go. So it recommends to use like a 6-minute epoxy to glue this plate, which will go right here. Now, I don't have any 6-minute epoxy. The closest I even have is this 12-minute epoxy. Okay, and these actually were brand new, sealed up, amidst some of Bob's old stuff. So this is like I said, these were completely sealed, unopened, and all that. So that's the closest I had to 6-minute epoxy. So I was about to attempt to use these, and I started thinking like, well, these have been sitting for a while, and I don't know if the condition and how epoxy does from sitting over time, if there's a expiration, or if you run into issues, if it's been unused, or things like that. And what I found while mixing it up here, and I did notice this. This was the hardener here was very kind of yellowish there on the bottom. So that kind of had concerned me a little bit too. But what I was noticing, and this probably will not be, you probably can't see this too well on the video there, but as I was mixing it, it really kind of came out milky looking to me. And as I found out, as I was doing some research on it, if it comes across milky, then that's an indication that it has, there's been moisture, like it's been in cold temperatures or something like that. And probably would affect the overall strength of this. So basically what I'm saying is that this epoxy is no good. Not gonna even proceed any further with using it. So I hate that it was I hate the fact that it was unopened, unused. Thought we could go ahead and use it, but just the fact that it has been not stored properly, and it probably honestly is just too old, I would think, to be used. So unfortunately can't use that 12-minute epoxy. I'm gonna have to the only epoxy I have that's even, well, the only epoxy I really have at the moment is 30-minute epoxy. So gonna mix up a batch of it instead and just use that for the landing gear plate there. But yeah, interesting lesson. So if you do happen to come across some old epoxy and you try mixing it and you notice some cloudiness, that is an indication that it is no good and is not going to adhere very well. So, but anyways, let me go ahead and mix up some 30-minute epoxy, and then we'll get the landing gear plate put in. All right, guys, got it set in place there using the 30-minute epoxy that I've got that's been pretty much brand new this year. So yeah, and I kind of forgot this. The hardener actually is yellow. However, on that 12-minute epoxy, the yellow had sort of like settled to the bottom. So that had me concerned, obviously. But it'll just take a little longer for this to set since it's 30 minutes instead of the 12. Honestly, I've hardly ever seemed to use like the lower minute epoxies. I just haven't really ever used them. I tend to always get 30 and just use 30. No real reason. That's just what I usually end up picking up. But maybe I should start getting some lower time epoxy and using it as well for some of these small things like that. So anyways, we'll let that set and do its magic there and do its setting and everything. And then we'll move on to the next step. Oh, and one more important thing, obviously, is when you are dealing with any kind of epoxies and having to, basically epoxy a piece down and then walk away, do whatever you can to make sure it's not going to move. Weights, clamps, I've used rubber bands, I've used tape, just whatever I can to sort of, brace those pieces together so that they do not budge. And so that glue properly, sets and there's no big gaps or anything like that. So always make sure and clamp your stuff. And while the glue over there is doing its thing and setting, let me go and take just a quick moment here to thank Mr. Glow Engine Dave for hooking me up with some servos for this build. So we're going to go ahead and reveal those here as well. These just came in earlier this week. And he said he had I guess he acquired a bunch of servos from some of his deals that he'd gotten, and he wanted to provide something here for the build, so do appreciate Dave. I was looking through my collection of servos, and they were kind of in rough shape. Not to say they couldn't be used, but yeah, they were just they were definitely lacking, I think. So, but here we have. Let me show you guys what we have here. I think there's quite a few of these. These are high-tech HS300s. So get those out here. So yeah, there's the high-tech HS300s. And I figure I will use those for all the control surfaces. So that's ailerons, elevator, rudder. So, and then there's some additional servo arms and hardware for that. And then, actually, quite a few of those. All right. And then the other one here is a Futaba. Let's see, that is a FPS 148. If you guys can see that real well. There we go. And, you know, I think when he showed me the picture of this one, I was like, it was already kind of, to me, it already had the linkage there, or the hardware there, sort of, that I could use it for throttle. So I was like, well, I'll just use this one for my throttle servo. So, the servo extension, or is that a Y splitter? Yeah, that's a Y connector. Okay. But yes, thank you very much, David, for hooking me up here with this, with some servos for the Uproar build. Do appreciate it, and appreciate anything you've done to help me out here. So, anyways, just want to kind of go ahead and take a few moments to share that as well. So again, thank you, Dave. All right, guys. So, kind of flip things around here. As you can see, there is that landing gear ply that's in there. The epoxy, of course, is all set. It is solid as a rock. And since then, of course, I've went ahead and applied this forward fuse bottom piece of plywood here over top of that. Got that glued down in place. So we got that set. Next part we got is the sheeting on the bottom of the fuse, which is going to go basically in this section right here. So we're going to do that. Now, something that's very interesting about this, and this may be the first kind of error or issue that I've had on the build, and it's one of those ones that we're just going to go ahead and do it. I mean, I don't have much of a choice. So in the instructions, it actually calls this cross-grain sheeting, and in the picture, it is very clear that it is cross-grain sheeting. The problem is I don't have that. This is one of the last pieces of sheeting that I have available. And as you can see, it is not cross-grained. It is actually right there, going straight with the end of the fuselage. The cross-grain, of course, would be having the grains this way. So, don't know what happened there. Maybe it was a mix-up at the factory. I've looked around at my other sheeting that I've done so far, like on the wing and stuff like that, and I don't know. I can't find it. And the sheeting on this side, of course, again, it goes right along with it as well. But like I said, at this point, I can't do much about it. So, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and proceed and go ahead and we'll get that in place. And then, much like the sheeting on the other side, I'm just going to go ahead and cut a massive piece of it. It does extend beyond the end of the fuselage. So I am going to go ahead and just at least cut the length, and then after that, after I cut the length, then I'll glue it, and then I will go ahead and then cut it to shape. So here we go. All right, guys, there we go. Got the sheeting there glued on and cut to shape. Still need to probably go through and just give a little bit of light sanding to it, just to kind of round off and smooth out some of those edges there. Okay, guys. So I'm going to be doing one last little thing before I close up this video, and I'm only going to be doing a small part of this particular step, just because I need to get myself an engine mount, or need to locate an engine mount. So that would be kind of one of the next things we're doing here, is actually applying the firewall and then marking my holes on the firewall with my engine mount. So at this particular stage, I hadn't even thought or planned ahead to go ahead and get the mount ready, or even see what mounts I have available. My mounts are kind of limited, so I'll have to kind of see if I have anything there, or I have to go purchase something. But not a big deal. We can do it. So I'm going to be kind of halting on the firewall and the mount for right now until I can get one. I did want to go ahead and at least do one little thing here before we close up on this video. Is there is a part here requiring triangle stock, which I have here, and basically there's 4 pieces of triangle stock that I'll be using. However, I'm only going to be using 2 for right now until I get the firewall in. So I'm going to be putting in some triangle stock. This is the, if you can see that real well, that's the landing gear plate there. So I'm going to apply some triangle stock on this side, as well as on the side over here too. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut and glued in place and get that epoxied. Use epoxy on this as well. And then at that point, that's all it's going to be for this video until I can get the engine mount and the firewall and everything ready. So let me go ahead and cut some of this triangle stock to shape, and we'll get it epoxied in. All right, I went ahead and got the triangle stock put in place, so it's got it epoxied down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some weights on it to kind of keep it from moving so the epoxy can cure. Give me just a minute for that. All right, guys, the triangle stock is glued in place, at least up against this former over here and on top of the ply for the landing gear. So I'm kind of holding off on the other triangular stock, tri-stock, until I get the firewall situations taken care of. So basically all I have left to do is get the engine mount, either look through my stash if I have one, or possibly purchase one. And go ahead and get the mount set up, get the holes marked for the firewall, and then I can then set that in place. I'll put the tri-stock in next for that. And I also want to thank Tower Hobbies especially for for this next thing here. So the next thing pretty much after the mount and the firewall is there's a fuel tank hatch that goes right there. They have designed this in a way that the hatch is removable, which I love that. I love being able to have quick access to the fuel tank, and if I need to change the fuel tank, clean the fuel tank, replace tubing, it makes it so much easier when you can get to that, if there's a removable hatch, or at least an easy way to get to it. So that will be done as well. So there'll be a removable hatch here for the fuel tank. And then outside of that, guys, it is basically additional cleanup and things. So getting the wing mated with the fuselage, getting the wing through the fuselage, installing cap strips, installing servos, tail section, and all that good stuff. So that's kind of what's in store. So we're getting there. It's getting very close. Probably here before too long we'll be covering this thing. So, but anyways, guys, that is all from me. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.